Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy Good, and joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how you doing, pal?
Thanks. Excellent, Jimmy. How about yourself?
I'm doing just fine. What are we doing? We're doing like dramatic turns. This is really great. If someone's just listening to this, they're gonna think like there's a buffer or something's happening, like their internet got cut or something like that. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That was my dark and ominous reveal.
Yes, very ominous, very dark.
My favorite words.
Yes, exactly. We could get you in the theater. We're like, all right, there's a new Teletubby movie, but it's dark and gritty and ominous. You'd be like, I'm coming.
I think I'll go see it.
Yeah. Tinky Winky's had enough. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh my God, we just had $1 million idea.
There you go. Well, $1 billion idea. It's easy money.
Yeah. That's a box office hit if I've ever heard one.
There was this other kind of show that came by recently, and it was just the theme song was just the same word said again and again and again and again, and I don't remember what it was, but I remember it was the Stuff of Nightmares. Anyway, welcome. No, it's not that one. Welcome everybody to another episode. We like to talk about movies, games, music, theme parks, anything we feel like talking about. And this week, I wanted to look into the future. Except I can only look to a certain degree, and everything is up for the potential chance of delay. But I wanted to test Joe's knowledge and feelings and thoughts on these games that are coming up, because Joe has become, he's got a diverse array that he likes to play of things, but I want to see if there's any of these things that will entice him away from the war zone. If there's any one of these things. Maybe not. Maybe he hasn't even heard of some of these games. But I want to talk about the next couple of months, because we're in August right now, and we've got a couple of big months coming up here, especially with like actual console releases. And maybe we could talk to him about that too, because we had somebody say that they liked your thoughts. Missile said he enjoyed your thoughts on the new consoles, so... Yeah, we're going to get your thoughts on these. But anyway, we're going to look forward into the next couple of months here. And I want to start with just kind of doing like a big game per month. Just kind of the ones that we will probably focus on, and probably ones that I would actually play, as opposed to like, naming off three that I probably just won't touch. But anyway, I want to start with Marvel's Avengers, which is coming out on September 4th. It's right before my birthday. It's like they knew it was for me. But anyway, I got to play the beta last weekend, and I kind of made a video about it, which you guys should go check out. But like, Joe, for you, like, I don't know, you've seen a little bit of this. Does this appeal to you at all from what you've seen?
The Marvel Avengers beta. Their Marvel Avengers game. So here, I have questions, because I haven't looked into it too much. In order for me to say yay or nay whether it appeals to me or I dabble in it, first of all, multiplayer or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
What style of gameplay is it if you're a multiplayer? What are you doing? Is it just missions that you do, like plow through cannon fodder kind of a thing?
Yeah, kind of. You remember we saw some of this stuff back in the day where it was like third-person action-y, and like they're fighting a bunch like robots and people and stuff, and they had different like big missions that they went on together as like a group and stuff like that. Yeah. And
it's always versus AI, right?
Yes. For now, anyway.
So, but it's not open world in any way. It's like home menu, select a mission, go do it.
Yeah, some of the missions actually have like open world segments to them. Like they'll have you in a... I'm trying to think like how big the area it would actually be. Like the radius might be like a couple... like 200 or 300 yard radius, or 400, something like that, in like the redwood forest, or like in a cityscape, like a couple of blocks, and you can kind of fight throughout there, and then you'll go into like an area and go down into like a bunker, and that's where like the actual mission will take place. But you can actually fight like other guys up on the buildings, or by the buildings, or like in throughout the trees and stuff like that too, if you're in the forest segment. So
destructive environments?
Some, mostly inside. That I saw, yeah, for sure. But not like plow through a wall or something like that.
Dang it!
Yeah, I know. That'd be cool.
If I'm the Hulk, I'm gonna run somebody through a building.
That's what you'd think, right? You just think that
turn around and you watch it crumble down into a pile.
That would be incredible. Yeah, there was a game that they were gonna make like that, but it was gonna be a fighting game a long time ago. It was like 1-on-1, and anyway, but yeah, so not open world. Not completely destructible environments, but a little bit kind of both of those things to some degree.
Okay. If we've seen the character in the movies, they're available to play as?
So it's launching with Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow and Miss Marvel or Kamala Khan, and she's got Mr. Fantastic powers, like stretchy powers. But they already have announced Hawkeye's on the way, and they did inadvertently, somebody leaked this, or the data miners found out a bunch of different characters that will be coming out over the next months and potentially years
to keep you interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Doctor Strange isn't?
Yep, he's coming, I think. I'm for sure, yeah. Like, they can't not do Doctor Strange. And Captain Marvel, Black Panther, and yeah.
Oh, yeah, Black Panther, and then what? How about Guardians?
I didn't see any Guardians names on there, but you know what? To be honest, I'm okay with that because I could see them doing that eventually as like their own expansion pack thing, like the 4 or 5 of them. I just don't think their powers are as diverse. Like if you're playing, like somebody made a really good point about this. I like Drax the Destroyer; he's great, but like who wants to play Drax when you could just play Hulk? You're kind of like
true. It's a lot more hand to hand, more human with them.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. That's kind of my thought there, but
Hulk could be cool with the little jetpack thing,
sure,
and flying around.
He's just a poor man's Iron Man. No, I'm just kidding. No, he's got some tricks.
True.
He's got some
Kinda
tricks.
True.
Yeah,
but I mean, Black Widow's in there.
I know. So Black Widow, I really think it's because she's in the MCU, and for some reason, they didn't put Captain Marvel in as like one of the main heroes right away, which is totally fine. And Black Widow plays pretty well. I don't know. She is in there, and she's got like you can get like dual Uzis and stuff. You could almost put a Peter Quill skin on here. Peter Quill skin. That's a hard word to say. Phrase. You could, but she's got like grapple hooks and stuff. She fights a little bit kind of like Spider-Man or Batman might. Kind of, sort of.
I guess that's kind of what I would expect a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so when does this game release?
September 4th.
You know what I would probably end up doing?
What?
I guess maybe it doesn't make sense, but if I got the new console, which is what, November?
Yes.
Would I wait that long?
You could, potentially.
Let's leave it at this. I'm interested. I think as it becomes more public, and I need to watch some videos on it. I know I saw that kind of trailer gameplay video, and it looked pretty good. Part of me, it'll always be a disconnect. Like I want it to be Robert Downey Jr. I want it to be Chris Hemsworth, like their likeness and voice.
Sure.
How cool would that be? But I'm sure I could get into it. I think I want to check it out a little more and see some of that gameplay and how the missions roll and stuff like that. And yeah, maybe it's on the list. I can diversify a little bit.
Well, it has an open beta this weekend, and the only video you need to watch about it is the one I made. No, I'm just kidding. It was very slapdash, but for some odd reason, it tracked better than the last wishlist video I made, so you slap it together, just set it.
And I do believe I am home this weekend, so perhaps we get the squad together and give her a shot.
I thought for a second you were going to say, I believe I'm homeless this weekend. I was going to say, like, what is... Haley's like, get out of the house, and you're like, okay.
Some days, man, I'm this close. I'm this close, living in a van down by the river.
That's amazing. I didn't know you watched what's that? Mad TV? Is that Mad TV that you?
No, I'm pretty sure it was SNL.
I know. Chris
okay.
I'm messing with you.
SNL people are just like rolling over. Like, what
it's okay. If you're a huge SNL fan and you're like by today's standards, I want to know. Put it in the comments. I want you to tell me if you love SNL still. Is there any Avenger though that would make you pick it up day and date, or any Marvel character besides Venom?
Is Spider-Man
exclusive to Sony or to PlayStation?
Stupid.
Yeah,
ridiculous, because everybody knows he's fun in that style.
Yeah.
Honestly, I like the idea of Thor. I think that would be a lot of fun, and obviously Iron Man's great, but between those two,
but
I think that's the most compelling.
Oh, sure. I meant, like, is there any that they haven't announced that, like, if they said, "Oh, we're putting this one in," you'd be like, "Yeah."
Oh, I mean, you hit it right on the head with Venom, but okay. It'll probably be Sony exclusive, those mother truckers. I apparently it was leaked that they would eventually come out with Black Panther, from what you said, right? But I mean, Black Panther I think is really interesting coming down the pipe. And reason being, hear me out, I think he could probably be the best or most fun. just because of that acrobatic style, almost Spider-Man-esque without the webs.
Yeah.
But even more physical. And if you think back to his suit upgrade, when he got the one that would absorb kinetic energy and then release it back is like an explosive type thing. I love that. And that would be really cool in a game like this. You get into a group with cannon fodder and just boom. I mean, that's dope. I think it could be a really compelling character and a little cooler than just like flying around and shooting things kind of a thing, like maybe an Iron Man style, as cool as Iron Man probably is. I think Black Panther tactics would be a lot of fun in a game like this.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think Iron Man flying around is great because that's all I did when I played this. No, I played the other characters. They had 4 that you could choose from, and I really just found myself playing a lot of Iron Man because you got your repulsors, you got your lasers, you got your missiles, you got a lot to work with, and he was a lot of fun. He has a lot of stupid catchphrases though, and I really wish he wouldn't be so. He keeps saying things like less talky, more fighty, and I'm like, what? Shut up! I'm like, shut up. Even though I love Nolan North, he's great, and it wasn't his choice to keep putting these little. He even makes a Ghostbusters joke. He hops in the Hulkbuster and he says, "Bustin' makes me feel good," and then he says, "Oh, that's a song. It's from a song. Check it out. It's a real thing." And I'm like, why is Tony Stark referencing Ghostbusters? Whatever.
So maybe it's slightly too quibby in almost a bad way. Like maybe. It's like Thor Ragnarok as opposed to some of the other movies that have more of a serious tone, but they inject that humor where it belongs.
Yeah.
That's one thing Marvel has always been good at, with the exception of Ragnarok. But so that can be overdone. I get it's a video game, but it can still be overdone.
Yeah. Well, I think you missed the opportunity to say Ghost Rider. I'm going to keep fighting for Ghost Rider. I'm going to put him in this game. He's a perfect option.
Okay,
he could ride his motorcycle around. It'd be so cool.
You know why he didn't come to mind is because I haven't seen him on the big screen since Nick Cage.
Well, he's coming back. Don't you worry about it. I got to believe.
I hope so.
Keanu Reeves. Johnny Blaze. I almost said Johnny Storm. Johnny Blaze. It's different. There's a difference between those guys. I would love them. I know we talked about Venom and stuff. There's this group kind of like the Thunderbolts where it's like villain. It's like the Suicide Squad for Marvel, kind of. But like I would love Green Goblin. He'd be such a weird character to put in the game. But if Sony's already got like Spider-Man stuff, I don't think you're gonna get like some offshot Spidey villain, even a main one like that. Like Doc Ock would be super cool. I don't think he's ever. I don't know if he's been an Avenger, but screw it. I just want Magneto. Put Magneto in there. He could be a villain sometimes, but he'd be an amazing character to play as, just like smashing people together. He's just like bloop 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 bloop. Yeah. Yeah, I want Magneto. Anyway, you brought up the Black Panther thing. Actually, the guy I played the beta with, VJ Strom, this weekend, he said he actually brought up Black Panther too, and that whole idea. He's like, it'd be cool if you had a kinetic bar meter, and the more damage you took, it just kept going up and up and up, and then you like hit a button, and then you would explode. And I was like, oh yeah, that would be really cool. So it would kind of incentivize you to be much more physical or melee focused, just so you were charging it up yourself and also taking hits, and you're just like that would be pretty neat. I was like, that's a good idea. Anyway, that's coming out on the 4th, open beta for everybody this weekend, and I'm excited to hop back into it and hopefully dive in a little bit more, even though I think you only get access to those 4 characters again, which are Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow, and Miss Marvel or Kamala Khan, which I'm fine playing as anybody. I just really enjoyed Iron Man. He was just so much fun. It's not a perfect game. The beta got a little clunky sometimes, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. So I would recommend you try it out this weekend. See if you like it.
I'm down.
If you like it. That's the biggest game that I'm seeing here for September personally. And some of these things they could change at the drop of a hat. And I won't say the game that somebody's like watching. They're like, oh, please say this one. But let's go.
Call of Duty in October. Cold War.
Nope, I'm not even gonna talk about it. Okay, I want to mention this. I'm not going to play it. I know someone who would probably listen to the show who would be excited about it. Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, comes out on October 2nd. I probably won't play it, but I know a lot of people who like Crash. It's weird to see that game coming out on Xbox One as well, because I always just associate with Sony, but it's not going to be the thing. The one I wanted to talk about, the one that I think might be really, really fascinating, comes out October 29th, and I don't know, like, Ubisoft, I don't know why you do this to yourselves, but it's called Watch Dogs Legion. Now, Joe, I don't know if you're familiar with Watch Dogs. It's basically it's more like modern day Assassin's Creed, but you've got your phone out all the time and you can hack like a traffic light and then cause cars to slam into each other, or you can raise a gate, like a security gate to get into a place, or raise like one of those like ballasts or whatever, and you could just like have cops slam into them and like stuff like that. But this one, it's the third one in the franchise. But what they're doing in this one is almost any NPC in the world has like backstory and skills and their own voice work and stuff, and you can recruit them to join your cause. And it's set in like futuristic-y type of London, and you might be playing as a construction worker, and you're working for this hacking group called DedSec, and so you might be like walking through a construction site, and if you have that outfit on, no one's going to question you, right? But if somebody starts to question you, you can make their phone go off, and then you could like attack them with a wrench when they're like, "What's my phone?" And then you're like that, when you sneak around. Or you could like you find someone in the world, and you're like, "Oh man, they're like maybe like super spy, and they have like a silenced pistol, and they can have like a remote Aston Martin will pull up for them. Like that's one of their abilities. So you can like basically get a lot of different types of people in your crew throughout the entire world." And because there aren't levels put on top of them, you can just kind of switch willy-nilly to any of them. So kind of think like Grand Theft Auto 5, how you could switch between the three protagonists, but like on a way bigger scale. And I don't know, it just seems really interesting to me, and I think it could be a lot of fun. I don't know if it'll consistently be that throughout the whole game, but I just think it's kind of fun to say like, all right, well, you're playing as like the little granny, the little old lady right now who like looks so unassuming, but she's like a spy for DedSec. But then you also switch to like the big burly brawler guy, and like that's just you can switch between all of them all the time. But yeah, I just think it looks like a cool game, and I hope it does well because I just think it's really interesting.
It sounds very open worldly. You said more Assassin's Creed-esque, only modern?
Yep, modern day London, or kind of futuristic London, yeah, with drones and stuff.
That sounds kind of cool. It almost gives me vibes of the new 2077.
A little bit, yeah, for sure.
Game.
For sure.
Maybe a little less involved, but yeah, it kind of has a good vibe to it from what you're saying. Multiplayer or no?
I'm not sure on that yet. There probably will be. In the past, what they've done is where like people can kind of spawn into your world, and you can work together on a thing. They sometimes have like a PvP type of thing as well. I'm not sure. I'm sure there'll be some implementation of that down the line.
Could be cool, because I like the thought of doing stuff like that and having goals and missions that actually work on like a GTA or something like that. Almost Ghost Recon-esque, but
Sure.
Hopefully done. Wildlands was good. The next one, I don't even remember the name. That's how good it was.
Breakpoint.
Exactly. So
yeah. Horrible.
But if it has kind of that vibe, but it's done, it sounds like it's got a more intimate vibe to it, and very more, maybe a little more straightforward. So it sounds enticing.
Sure. Would you be okay switching between multiple characters? Do you like to stick with one, or would you be like, I'm cool switching to this guy who has these abilities, then switching to this lady who has these abilities?
I think it would add a little bit. It would add a dash of fun, I think. Sure. Like, I mean, you can imagine the conversation or the jokes when you switch to the grandma and the other guy and your friend's a big burly guy or something, and you're doing some covert ops mission. It could be pretty funny, and cool. But I like that. It's a creative twist. Really is.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm interested. And the old lady is the one I want to play as the most, because that sounds great, because you don't get to play as a lot of old ladies in games. Last time I did was Prototype, and basically what you do is you could like consume a person and take on their look. So I'd be an old lady running up the side of a skyscraper, because I was like this super like hero crazy guy, and it was just like the helicopters knew who I was when I stopped running along the sidewalks, when I started running like perpendicular to the ground as an old woman up a building. It was excellent. Prototype, I miss you. Anyway, the reason I brought that up, because I was like, Ubisoft, why you do this to me? Because in November, then we get Assassin's Creed Valhalla, November 17th, which is like, I don't know. I get why they got to do these types of things, but I'm like, oh man, it's just a few weeks later, and your other big third-person open world game, which they're very different. Granted, they're very, very different, but it just is like, oh man, why are you gonna? I hope that doesn't cannibalize their sales. But anyway, Assassin's Creed, Vikings.
I think Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Vikings is a cool niche. I think a lot of people are into it. There's something appealing about Vikings, hence all the TV shows you got, the movies. This is probably the one Assassin's Creed that really appeals to me. I
Okay.
think it could be really cool. I'm kind of down, to be honest, and we haven't even talked about much, or but I like the concept. I think it could be a lot of fun.
Do you think you'll get that?
Maybe weren't
Okay.
they starting to inject a multiplayer feature to Assassin's Creed?
So when Xbox One and PlayStation 4, the turn of the generation in the past, what happened was they had Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag came out on 360, but it also came out on Xbox One just
Yeah,
for stick. And then it came out, it was Rogue was on the older generation, and then Unity. That was the one that had like the 4-player kind of co-op in the open world type of thing.
yeah,
That one didn't do super well. And then they did Syndicate, which didn't really have that feature to my knowledge. And then they kind of waited like a year or two, and then that's when they did Origins and Odyssey, which were kind of revamped Assassin's Creed experiences altogether. Which those didn't really do. I don't know if they did any type of multiplayer co-op or anything like that at all. I was really hoping we'd get that with this one. I don't think there is that I know of. I could be completely wrong on that, but it seems like it's more of a single-player campaign where you recruit people to be part of your Viking crew, and they get on your longship, and then you raid various places with that crew, as opposed to going around with your buddies, which I would love to do that. I would love to add that wrinkle in there, but who knows? It might still be a really great game, regardless of the lack of co-op. But yeah, so it sounds
yeah.
like you might be really interested, regardless if it's single player or multiplayer.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it could be interesting regardless if it is or isn't. The only problem is I just see so much potential there, something like that, like going around and raiding with your buddies. Even if it wasn't Assassin's Creed, somebody needs to create a Viking game like that where you're literally like kind of Napoleon style, going and taking over territories and
Sure.
raiding villages and stuff. Oh, that could be so cool. Um, so that's kind of what I kind of hope for out of this game. But I understand if it isn't it. It's Assassin's Creed stays in its lane for the most part, and yeah, but um, it's just such a that Norwegian setting. There's just a vibe to that I really jive with, and I
Sure.
like so. Um, the problem is, and the reason I always ask about multiplayer, and I sound like a broken record because I talk about it all the time, but when I play games, that's what I enjoy about gaming is the time with friends and and having that fun together. Although it be virtually or remote, it's still time spent together, which I enjoy and appreciate. But I'm no stranger to a single player game now and again. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I'll have to see if it looks compelling enough and like a lot of fun. Yeah, maybe I'll dabble. Yeah.
Fair enough. I don't know. We'll see. I've gotten pretty much every Assassin's Creed game, even if it's not at launch. This one's coming around the turn of the next console generation, so I'm interested to see if it's
How it
really
looks.
that much. Yeah, if it's going to be that much better on the next gen. But the weird thing is that, and as of recording this, and this might have changed already, who knows? That one's coming out on the 17th, and I'm interested in it. I figured Assassin's Creed Vikings, that makes sense. I'm sure it'll be good. Vikings and Assassins don't really, like, for me, and maybe this is historically very accurate, I've never really paired those things in my mind together. So that's always been like a hard kind of conceit where I'm like, you're playing as an assassin, but you're a Viking. Like that. It seems like the exact opposite. Like a Viking's like, I'm going into battle, whereas like an assassin's like, I'm gonna sneak around and kind of like shank them in the dark. But
There were
again,
tribes, like it could be cool if it was like pitting Vikings against Vikings sometimes,
this one's all
injecting
about,
that into it.
it's like Vikings versus like the English and like them going to the new lands, like they're leaving,
So like, excuse me, like
Scandinavia.
the Saxons, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Um,
which is fine. I think that, like, obviously that TV show Vikings is like pretty much all about that. So they're capitalizing on that. I wanted them to do Japan, Joe, but it's okay because Ghost of Tsushima probably did it better. So just leave it for a little bit.
true.
But
Yeah.
I'll probably pick this up at some point. Like I said, I played through pretty much all of them except for like the PSP one. But yeah, it looks pretty solid. It looks exactly kind of like what Assassin's Creed has become, but they did take out like the level system, which is I think hopefully really good to some degree. There's like player power now instead, but there isn't like I'm a level 5, that guy's a level 8, and because of that he's going to hit so much harder than me and I'm going to do no damage to him. So they've kind of done away with that, And it seems like they did away with that also in Watch Dogs Legion, which I'm really happy about because I really hate. I like RPG systems in certain games, but these types of games, it just makes it, especially like when you used to one-shot kill people with assassinations. Now it's like their full health bar is so big, but then you just take like a tiny little chunk of it out now when you assassinate them. You're like, how did you screw that up? You jumped on top of them and took a blade and put it in their throat, and it was like, that didn't really do a lot of damage. It's like, what? But yeah, I wish this game, I think out of all games besides Black Flag with the piracy, I think like this deserves co-op and, you know, playing with your buddies. Because it's like, yeah, like I want to go around in a longship with my friends. Like that sounds amazing. Like why?
Yeah, it's just really compelling. I know it's harder to do. And, you know, the games that you listed off, the ones where they did have a co-op feature that sounded like they didn't do so hot. But,
yeah,
you know, is that the reason why? I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I wonder if it's just dev time and they're just like, yeah, we're just going to focus it somewhere else, maybe.
And now more than ever, it's a hard time for developers to spend time on these games. I'm sure a lot of work that they're doing is remote, that sort of thing, through VPNs and whatnot. But, you know, I'm sure it's not quite as efficient as it normally could be or would be. So maybe they have to make certain sacrifices somewhere, somehow, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Ironically, though, maybe not ironically so much, it got pushed back from its date, which was, oh my gosh, I can't even remember. Was it September? But now it got pushed back. So we have November 17th for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but the date I'm talking about is Cyberpunk 2077, which comes out on November 19th. Very different games, but both, you know, open world RPGs to some extent. And I wonder if a lot of people at that time are just going to be like, yeah, I'm just going to wait for this or that. I think there's probably some overlap with people. Like I'm one of those people who likes Assassin's Creed. I like CD Projekt Red. I like first person shooters. Like I like open world games. Like, so I, you know, if it came down to it, if someone's like, you can only pick one, like obviously I'm going to pick Cyberpunk. Like Cyberpunk is like the game I've been waiting for so long. And like, I think a lot of people have, you know.
And the problem is I think that's going to be the same answer for a lot of people. And they'll probably go for that over Assassins, and Assassins is probably going to suffer a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, that's okay, because, like, I'm not that, like, I want Assassin's Creed to do poorly, but maybe it'll still, and they are different enough games. The thing I think that's working against Assassin's Creed Valhalla right now is not only that it's coming out right next to another big release, but also it's 2 weeks after another very different, but also Ubisoft third-person open-world game. And, like, I don't know if Valhalla is setting itself up for something of a failure or something of, like, much less than it would have done if it would go out unopposed. Like, if it came out in August or something, and it was just like, yep, I'm by myself here. Like, here we go. But, yeah, I'm so excited about Cyberpunk. I've been, like I said, I've been waiting for it for a long time. I loved Witcher 3, and I've been, like, I know this company, they take their time. They've delayed it plenty of times, but I would rather have them delay it a bunch. And if that's the first game I play on the new console, like on my Series X or whatever it's going to be, I'll be totally happy with that. I'll be like, oh my gosh, like, you know, it'll be worth it to me, just because like that'll be great. That'll be so cool. And I feel like that game has so much in it. Like there's so many systems. It's nuts. It's bonkers. I know we've talked about it a few times, but there's so much that could potentially go on, and so many ways to replay it, to play it in different ways. But for you, Joe, like if it comes down between these two, like I know you've talked about Cyberpunk a little bit in the past, but would you still prefer Valhalla over this?
I don't think so. Both being single player and all, I honestly don't think I could. I think just the fact that Cyberpunk has so much to it, and I think the style's a little cooler. The customization is going to be off the chain. I think it just lends itself to being more compelling, more involved, and maybe more worth your money. That investment, you get a lot more payback and time out of it. So I think it's just got to be Cyberpunk.
Yeah. Do you think you'll pick up Cyberpunk?
Let's put it this way. I'm sure I'll end up picking up Cyberpunk over Assassins.
Okay.
As of right now, that's probably how it'll go.
Yeah. It's weird for me, like Assassin's Creed, I always feel like if you waited just a couple months and you could get it for like $35 or $40, you'd be like, all right, because there's just so many of them out there. And if the worlds were flipped and there was, you know, a Cyberpunk that came out every other year and Assassin's Creed was coming out and it was like the first one of its kind, I might be like the opposite way, right? You'd be like, oh man, this game looks amazing. But yeah, I just feel like I've been waiting so long on this one, and just I just want to get into that world and see it, and I can't imagine. And I want to, keep my hype, pretty like normalized. I'm excited about it, but I realize that a huge game like this could have a lot of problems. But from what a lot of the early impressions I've heard of people playing like 4 or 5 hour demos and stuff like that, it's been pretty solid. And obviously that can be just a demo, but just enjoying what they have shown and watching the Night Wires. They have this like little show, Joe, where they do it like once every couple of weeks. They do like a little half hour, like behind the scenes. They might, talk about a gameplay aspect, show some like maybe how they recorded the music, and then show us like 5 minutes of gameplay, or something like that. And it's just kind of like a nice little touch base with like, hey, this is kind of, this is how this system works and all this stuff. And every time I see that game, it just gets bigger and bigger. They have
That's
like
really cool and it's smart.
Yeah, well, they've got like a whole desert that you can go like be in kind of too, like Mad Maxian.
What?
Yeah, it's really crazy. So there's like 3 different starting areas, and if you pick the Nomad, you're just like a person from like the wasteland, and you start out in the desert and you have to like go into Night City, like you don't start in there. I was like,
kind of cool.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Now I know we talked about at one point, but wasn't there rumored to be a co-op in development for that?
A few months ago they put out a tweet about it, and they were talking about doing some sort of multiplayer to some degree. My thought would and this I feel like every time I say one thing it always just goes the opposite way. I would think it would potentially be, depending on what they do. If they did a PvP, they would have to do it where they like normalized, again using that word, because like if it's an RPG and I've been playing for 80 hours, Joe, and you've been playing for 20, and you and I fought each other, I might have crazy weapons and things that you'd be like, how can I even compete with you? Yeah. So if they do a PvP, I think they kind of would have to normalize all that stuff out. I really just hope that they do just like, hey, you know what, we're adding co-op to these missions, or you and 3 friends can occupy the same world and you can work together, and that might really change up the dynamics. Or maybe you could replay a mission with a friend now after you played it with like the NPC and it was pretty scripted. I don't know. I would just love to see co-op in there, because I really think it'd be so cool to be like, all right, I'm gonna go talk to these people, and if it goes wrong, if I do some poor checks and I don't persuade them, you snipe them, like you just shoot one of them in the head. I'll be like, oh, like
Ghost Recon made it work.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's because that was built from the ground up, though, with the co-op, right?
Yeah, true, with that in mind. But,
well, I mean, kind of.
I don't know. If they could achieve that, dude, I would pre-order that game.
Yeah, that would be... I really hope they do something like that. And I know maybe a lot of people who watch this are like, oh my god, they're always talking about co-op and stuff. But co-op is so cool. Like, and I don't think I'd want to play Cyberpunk PvP. I usually in RPG style games, I'm rarely like, I want to play against other players. Like even in Diablo, there's a PvP. I'm like, I'd rather not. Like,
exactly. So, but I like the thought of not the GTA foundation where other people are in your session and can ruin what you're doing. Take that out of the equation, and just like hey, let's get together, help me do this mission. That could be such a blast.
Yeah.
If fingers crossed.
Pull a Monster Hunter and just have people join your session, and then you just they'll just spawn them into missions and stuff, and you're like, hey, how's it going? You have like a little gathering hub area kind of thing, and you're like,
100%.
It'd be perfect. Yeah, and if you only have a couple people in a session like that, I don't think you have as many, because when we'd spawn into Grand Theft Auto Online, you get like these people who you just be caught in the middle of some sort of crazy war between like 3 or 4 players who all have infinite money, and you're just like, I'm going to turn passive mode on. Like, I don't want to be part of this. Like, you have a car that can't die. It's like, ugh. I would love to say that I'll pick up both these games. I don't know where I'll be at that point. If the channel's doing well enough, or if I just have enough, I might do both. We'll see, because it'd be fun to have a palate cleanser of sorts between, because like Assassin's Creed and Cyberpunk have a few similarities, but they're pretty different.
Both good streaming games.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what the Legionnaires wants. But either way, both those games, I think Cyberpunk specifically, though, is going to be just... It's so... Like, that game's so big. And, I don't even know if, playing through it once is, a really good, way to judge the game, just because of, the different places you start, the different ways you interact with people, or if you want to play the whole game.
The choice options.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So I might just be like, here's the review, but it is I went full katana build, killed everybody. That might be and it was a great time. I'd be like, usually threaten people. It was kind of my thing, and then I would just punch them across a room, and I'd be like, haha, it was really fun. Yeah, I'm just so excited for Cyberpunk. It's the one game that's coming out this year that for me, I think has the potential to be my favorite of this year, and maybe one of my favorites of the past couple of years. Even though Ghost of Tsushima is kind of fighting for that top spot right now, I just like that and these two games. I'm just like, oh man, I'm just happy they're coming out. I hope it comes out. Cyberpunk, please. You've delayed a few times. I know. You just got to take your time. But they did say recently, Joe, I thought you might find this interesting, that the team wasn't happy with how Melee felt. Because I remember seeing this in the videos. I was like, it doesn't look like... And obviously you can't feel how weighty it is because you don't have the controller. But they said the team was working really hard to like revamp and make the melee attacks feel better in the first-person shooter, right? I was like... Well, that's good to hear because there's like katanas. You've got those weird arm blade things. You can punch people if you're super strong. And I was like, okay, well, if you want to take time to fix it.
This is first person. It's not third.
Yeah, it's first person. So they're going from third person fantasy with Witcher to first person sci-fi. It's just like
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just nuts.
Yeah, I forgot that it's FPS, but that's good though because melee is so important. If you don't have reverberation or feeling through the controller when you do something like that, feeling the weight of the hit, then it feels dead.
Yeah, you gotta have it. You gotta have it.
I like that they pay attention to those minute details. It's important.
Oh yeah, that's what that group's all about. Just like really, really finite stuff. And I know a lot of people might be saying like, well, Jimmy, with The Witcher 3 combat wasn't that good. Yeah, it had its problems, and if I went back today, I might be like, yeah, it's not that good, but it felt good enough. But in a shooter, like in the melee and the guns need to be like, oh gosh, like you shoot that gun and you're like, yeah, it might not be the greatest gun in the world, but it's mine. I love how it feels, like the feedback I get from it, and the various different types of guns and ammo types and the different scopes and the aesthetics and all the stuff. That's one of the last ones, Joe, they covered like the different types of weaponry, and it was like, oh, okay, there's a very deep level of weapon customization and stuff. I was like, excellent.
I like to hear that.
Yeah, don't you just anyway, so out of those games we just talked about, Joe, and again, I've skipped over, I'm sure, plenty that people are like, why aren't you talking about this one? Which one is a Cyberpunk that probably is like the number one for you? Is there any like secondary spots? Would that probably be Valhalla?
Yeah, I think in that order, Cyberpunk, Valhalla.
Yeah. For me, it's probably Cyberpunk is at the top, and I know it's not going to be great. I really think it's not, over time, I think it might be, but I hope Avengers is super freaking good. Like, I want it to be good. I want it to be a games as a service game that I come back to and I'm excited about, just because, man, I just like the Avengers, and it was a fun game to play. I liked just killing robots and people. They're killing those people. I don't care what people say. Iron Man's blowing people up. He shoots people with 2 rockets. They're not coming back up from that. They're wearing little hazmat suits. They're not coming back.
It's like getting shot by a tank. You ain't coming back from that.
Ain't coming back from that. Which I don't need to spoil all the list of characters that leaked for some people, but they did say like you can't really see these, like the picture's over here for people who are watching. But War Machine, who's just out of shot, they leaked that he might be a playable character. I don't know if that's just a skin. I just don't is one of your trees just the minigun? Or do they make him really heavy, explosive expert? Because they've already given Iron Man a ton of stuff. So you could get the repulsors, the missiles, and the lasers and switch between them on the D-pad. So you could kind of do all these crazy combos where you're like, wow, I've got a lot. I just don't know what you give War Machine that makes him really different.
Yeah, but that minigun could be cool. That minigun could be cool.
I know, but is it enough to do a whole new character on? I'd rather have I'd rather have Ghost Rider.
Well, it's probably easy for them to do because they just take Iron Man and add a minigun and skin him.
A lot of people are saying that because there's Kate Bishop or something who's kind of like Hawkeye's heir kind of thing. And I was like, are you gonna start doing Echo Fighters or Falcon? And I'm like, you gotta make Falcon really compelling if you already have Iron Man and War Machine in the game, because
it's like Monster Hunter when they do the variants of the monsters. You got Barioth, and then you've got Frostfang Barioth. Basically same thing, little bigger, but same design concept and all that. Yeah. Little color change and done.
Well, as long as they're the biggest difference, I guess, is you're not fighting against those things. You're playing as them, but if they're included with the cost and they're not making people pay $10 for a reskinned Iron Man, I'll be okay with it. It's please don't do that. I don't want you to do that. You'll kill me. Just put some other interesting characters in the game. That's all I'm asking. No Wolverine though. That's what. Oh, Joe, back in X-Men Origins Wolverine, the video game, which is really good. They gave Wolverine this like 60, 50-foot pounce. I don't know. He could like jump really far. I don't know if you've ever seen this. And it was really cool. And people were talking about this. I was like, what if you gave that to Black Panther? That would make more sense. He's got kind of like a super soldier type sense, stuff. Yeah. I was like, so in his range, he could throw he's got like little energy kunai in some of the cartoons and comics. I was like, you got that, but also give him like a pounce. Like he looks at a dude in the back and he just jumps up. And like, oh my God. It's like,
it's believable. Yeah.
Just slicing at him, or use the kinetics to repulse yourself. I think Black Panther could be really sick. I hope he's cool. Oh, they also maybe said, I'm kind of spoiling all of this. Skip like 2 minutes if you don't want to hear another one. But our boy, Winter Soldier sounds like might be in the game. I don't know if he'll be like kind of like Cap plus Black Widow. I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, I just make him the Terminator. Make him like Winter Soldier from the actual movie, where he's just the mask, the gun, another gun, a knife, like explosives, and he's just like you know. That'd be so cool. Anyway,
I do like me some Winter Soldier.
Yeah, well, that's just us looking forward to the future just a little bit there. Just kind of, hoping that there's some good things. Also, it does say here that holiday that comes out is Bug Snacks. I'd be remiss not to mention Bug Snacks because it's kind of bug and kind of snack. I don't know if that means it will be coming out, December or whatever else. But when Bug Snacks comes out, don't worry, we will cover it because it stays with me always. Anyway, Joe, it's time to move on to that segment of the show that I like to call, that you like to call, that we like to call...
Time Killers?
That's right. It's time for Time Killers. That's so nice. The games we've been playing, movies we've been watching, TV shows we've been viewing, all that stuff. Joe, what have you been killing time with, buddy?
Oh, Jimmy. Oh, that's a very good question. Oh, I recently got back into watching Vikings. I'm only midway through the whole thing, so I every once in a while I pop it on. I think, what was it, Sunday night or Monday? Monday night. I watched an episode or two of it, and still a good show. Hence why the Valhalla thing kind of tipped me off a little bit. I was like, ooh, yeah, But in all honesty, I'm just going to kick it right back to you because I don't really have much new.
I'm Floki. I'm a boat builder. That show's so weird. I liked it. I fell off it though. I fell off it like 3 seasons in or so.
Yeah. I'm probably only 3 seasons in anyway. As it is.
Yeah, it's a cool show. It's a decent show. I fall off those ones like that and like Black Sails. I'm like, I try, and then I'm like,
I like Black Sails.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of an abrupt ending, but yeah.
Yeah, some of those shows just have it. For me, so Avengers, which I played this past weekend, which was great. It was fun. I finished up Doom Eternal today. Good game. Very fast paced. I love the music, and it's visceral. That's wonderful. Some of the bosses, and there's like one enemy type, this Marauder guy who really sucks. And it was just like, the game is so much fun when it's firing on all cylinders, but when these like dead stop enemies show up, you're like, oh gosh, it's just like frustrating. And then the game started telling me, they're like, oh, would you like to load the last checkpoint with the Sentinel armor? It'll make you feel like, it'll make you stronger. And I'm like, no, just shut up, game. Like, I'm going to get through this. The game's like, are you sure you've died a lot? And I'm like, I know, okay. But I did it. I didn't have to use the Sentinel armor. But yeah, so I borrowed that from a friend, and I'm happy I did. I don't think any Doom, I don't think I'd pay full price for it. For me personally, just because it's a game I'll play through the one time, and then I won't be playing the PvP, and I just probably wouldn't revisit it.
Do you get any jump scares from it or anything like that?
No.
Does it get dark and tunnely? And...
Doom 3 was like that. This one is back to like the classic, like you're running around and like you are the scary thing. Like the monsters aren't really scared of you, but like you are, nothing jumps out at you like that. And then if they do, it might just be like you turn and there's a guy who's in your face, but then you just chainsaw him. You're just like, oh yeah, bye. And with the game,
you are the scary thing.
I am. I'm the Slayer. The one thing I don't like about first-person games, this shooter specifically, is because you move around so much. In most first-person shooters, your enemies are usually ahead of you, and they're not melee combatants. And I like the whole melee combatant idea for most of these guys. There's a lot of them who come attack you, scratch you, whatever. There's some that shoot from far away, all right? But sometimes if you're moving around, you'll try to be moving, and there'll be a guy who's like standing right off screen right here, and you're trying to move left, and you're like, I think I can move left, and you turn, and he's just like there, and you're like, oh god, like, so sometimes the spatial awareness for me personally got to be a little tough, or I'd be running into like a stairway, and I'm like, oh my god, what the? Like, I'm trying to jump away, it's like all these guys are hitting me at the same time. But yeah, it's a good game. I really like it. One of the better first-person shooters I've ever played, but Probably not a game I'm going to go back to. I can give it back to my friend and be like, there you go, sir. And then I also finished Ghost of Tsushima, which I'm working on the review. You have to wait to hear more, but I love it. It's amazing. It's so good. Oh my god, that was so good. Oh gosh, Joe, I wish you'd play it. Well, you don't have a PlayStation, but yeah, I think you'd dig it. It's
Yeah,
good.
what do you need for
PlayStation 4. Yeah,
those
exclusive.
those
things.
tricks.
That's where Spider-Man is exclusive. He'll never be on anything ever else again, unless it's Ultimate Alliance, and then he's like kind of on the Switch. I don't know. It's a whole thing. Let's see. As far as watching goes, I finished the Kaminsky Method, which was only 2 seasons. They're only 8 episodes apiece on Netflix. Michael Douglas, Alan Arkin, older guys in Hollywood. Michael Douglas was an actor. Now he's an acting coach. Alan Arkin is like an agent. And I think it's a show that probably hits you a lot better if you're like in your 50s or 60s. Because that's like who they are. And they're like 70 or something. But they're both older and they're kind of like, kind of falling apart a little bit. But it's still an interesting show, and for an aspiring actor, like I said last time, such as myself, there's some good little tidbits in there, just kind of like Allison Janney, who people might know from The West Wing, or the voice of the starfish from Finding Nemo. She's also been in a bunch of other things. She was on the very last episode, and she basically became like a guest speaker for the school that Michael Douglas's character basically opened. And she is very like, she's just sitting there on the stool and she's just like really direct with them. She's not even talking to the kids, like these actors, I should say, about like actual acting methods. She's like telling them like stuff about like, here's what you got to do. Like I'll teach you like how to get an agent, how to like basically the business side of it. And she's just really super straightforward. And so she's sitting on this stool and Michael Douglas's character comes in because he's basically being replaced in his own school by his daughter. His daughter kind of runs the place right now. And he goes in there to kind of chastise her. And Allison Janney stands up, and she's got like a foot or like half a foot on Michael Douglas. So she stands up, she's towering over this guy. And she's just like, she's basically just like throwing stuff in his face. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. I know her also from Frasier. She was on one episode of Frasier way back in the day. A lot of famous people on Frasier. Which, by the way, I watched some Frasier this weekend with my family. And guess what? It was incredible. We jumped around a few episodes, and they were all hilarious. And then I watched some behind-the-scenes special with Katie Couric when the show ended. There was like a 7-part thing on YouTube just to see them all talk about like the show. It's really crazy. Kelsey Grammer, man, he's been through a lot. I didn't realize, like, I knew a little bit, but he went through like a lot. Like, it's pretty impressive, man. I don't know. You guys should check it out. Drugs. His sister was murdered way back in the day. It was, man, it's just, wow. It's bad. So, and that guy was still funny all the time. It's incredible. And Kelsey, apparently he wouldn't memorize his lines until the last like moment on the show. And he's like, there's something, he's like, for me, he's like, because that's what Frasier would do. While he's searching for the lines, because I'm searching for the lines, it adds like a more of a human element. And I was like, well, bravo to you, man. Because like, I was like, when you're running the show, when your name is this namesake of the show, I think you probably get away with that a little more. Because I think most other people, they'd be like, why don't you know your lines? Like, but he's just like, no, it's just part of my thing. But anyway, everybody go watch Frasier. It's so freaking good. It's on Hulu now. It was on Netflix, then it wasn't. I was like, oh gosh, but it's on Hulu. Go watch it. It's great. Anyway, Joe, it's time to move into my personal favorite segment of the show, which is community feedback
and questions.
That's right. Here we go. This one comes in from Jalen Brown. This is a good one. He said, over on our Discord, he says, since you and Katie did the top 3 places you'd like to travel to, what are the top 3 fictional places you'd like to travel to? Top 3 fictional places. When I saw this at first, I was like, oh, the first one that came to mind is Middle Earth, but probably like after the War for the Ring, because like I'd love to hang out in some of those places without having like the fear of 1,000 orcs just showing up on my lawn, or just like wherever I
take care of them.
I think maybe they take just a little blunt hit to the face and most of them go down. But Middle Earth came up right away. I don't know for you, Joe, like if Middle Earth would be on your top 3. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
He's like Smallville, Kansas.
Oh my gosh, Smallville during the Smallville days.
No, it's just a farm.
When Clark was there.
You'd be freaking him out. You'd be like, can I touch your biceps?
No, it's can I rub your biceps?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sure. You cut your hand.
Oh my god. Dude, this is really tough. I'm trying to think of a fictional place I'd actually like to go to. How about in no particular order? How about like Pandora from Avatar?
I was wondering if you were going to bring that up. Are you asking me, or are you saying that's where you'd want to go?
Oh, I'm saying I think it'd be a cool place to go see that that world. Obviously, you kind of get a little dose of that at Animal Kingdom and Disney World, but I mean, the real thing would be dope.
You got to wear a helmet though, because it's toxic.
Excuse me.
Planet's toxic.
Is it?
Just like that Britney Spears song. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
Okay. You cool with that?
Yeah. Where else?
Maybe we should keep it to live action, because like a part of me thought like, what if I want to say like Neverland from Peter Pan? But I don't know. Well, let's keep it live action. Let's keep it interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the places in Star Wars would be pretty dope. Like go see the ruins of the Death Star.
Yeah, you could be hanging out there, Joe, on your little grassy patch, and you got your special dagger, and you're like, look at this, and you're like, look at that, you're like, look at that Death Star. Who made this knife? Who knows? But I like it.
Kylo Ren was there.
He was there. Mustafar would be pretty cool. It might be really scary to be on, but like the lava planet, Vader's castle,
sure.
like. Yeah, I'm checking out Vader's castle for sure.
How about Maz
Kanata?
Maz Kanata, yeah. Going to her cantina or whatever, her bar.
Did you take that one over Mos Eisley, the one over in Tatooine?
Yeah.
It is less humid less humid. It's less dry death desert, so probably
exactly.
Probably. Yeah, no, I'm going to Vader's castle though.
And then Kylo's Star Destroyer for sure. I'd steal his helmet and never look back.
No, okay, you can't double down in the same universe. What I was gonna say was, what about, is it Skavik or whatever the ending place for Rogue One, which is like this cool Imperial facility that's like super tropical. Like I think that place was really cool. Like it's like a bunch of palm trees and then like a bunch of. I was like, yeah. I was like, that place is pretty cool. Yeah, deploy the garrison. Ben Mendelsohn, man, he's so good. Yeah, no, I'm still probably picking Mustafar. I'm picking Mustafar probably. Mustafar is great.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to see that castle, man. I really want to see the castle. So you said Pandora, and you said probably somewhere in Star Wars. Did you pick one in Star Wars specifically?
Not really.
Kylo's Star Destroyer. There you go.
Yeah, I think that's tops.
I'm gonna take. I feel like I need to take this poster down. I need a Darth Vader. I need a Darth Vader poster.
I see Kylo in the background, and that's all I can think about.
I know. I just. And you know what? All he can think about, Joe, is Darth Vader. Okay, sorry. I love Vader so much. I thought of Pandora, but yeah, man, I just can't. I don't want to go there. The Na'vi freak me out a little bit. Like the whole height thing is
a little bit.
It's a little strange. That might be really scary, and everything on that planet seems like it wants to kill you, unless you're on the boat ride, which apparently is totally.
Then it's
fine.
all good vibes, and
do you ever think it must be in the lore for Pandora at Disney that like you don't need the helmet? Because I wonder if they ever consider, they're like, well, if we really want to make it super immersive, every guest will need a helmet when they're on the boat ride. Like, oh,
yeah. How else do we explain their survival?
Exactly. I was trying to think of something Christopher Nolan-y. Like, I would love to go.
Gotham.
Does it count? This might be cheating. Can I go into the fictional dreamscape in Inception and also control everything with my mind? Because that would be pretty sick.
Sky's the limit.
That's what I want to do, man. Like, I'm just hanging out there with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's like, how did we get here? And I'd be like, what do you mean? He'd be like, were we always sitting at this cafe? I'd be like, I don't think so. And he'd be like, we're in a dream. And I'd be like, you're right, we are in a dream. And yeah.
Indubitably good stuff.
Who would you want to be trapped with in Inception if it wasn't Leonardo DiCaprio? I think Keanu Reeves for me. I just want him sitting across the table and be like, "Do you understand what's happening?" I'd be like, "No, I don't."
I do now.
Yeah, my dream's coming true. Yeah, Inception, man.
Huh.
You like that one?
Yeah, it'd be something.
I'm picking a tricky one there. I'm picking
maybe slightly traumatizing, but okay.
Okay, so you've got Pandora, Kylo's Star Destroyer, and I'm not letting you pick Smallville because it's too easy.
Damn.
It's just Kansas on a farm.
Damn it.
You can't pick it. Oh, I just thought of a great one. Oh, damn it. Joe, obviously, I feel like I need to take one of mine off the list. We'd both probably pick this place. Isla Nublar. Come on, we're going to Jurassic Park, dude. We're gonna go hang out in JP, dude. Like, I'd be like walking around, watching people get eaten. I'd be like,
oh yeah. To be honest, I mean, it's not my favorite film, but I think just because of the upgrade and the new agey type deal, I would go to Jurassic World.
Yeah, it's weird that they don't have like a raptor encounter there. Did you notice that? Like the raptors are kind of away.
There's a lot of things that they could show off that they didn't spend time on.
Yeah, Jurassic World's that's not a bad pick. I think if you could be one of the first people to go to Jurassic Park before all the events happened, that would be really cool. Like, you'd be like,
You're right. Yeah, going to the original JP and seeing it before they busted loose and ate everybody.
Yeah. That's what I dig it.
I dig it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So
that's added to my list. That's my 3.
There you go. So you've got
Pandora.
Pandora.
Why did I think of that off the jump? Let's go in order now. JP 1.
Yep.
Kylo Star Destroyer 2. And Pandora 3rd.
Because you want to go steal his helmet. It's just so, I want to take it. For me,
duh. It's a strong fight between JP and Kylo's Destroyer. I mean, it's a hard decision.
Is it cheating if I picked the Inception Mind Palace and then I made it Jurassic Park, but then Keanu Reeves is the voice of a velociraptor who is sitting and having like a coffee with me? He'd be like, "Don't you understand what's happening?" I'd be like, "I don't." It's like in Jurassic Park 3 when Alan has that vision of the raptor.
Yeah.
I know people hate it. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so good. That's when they used to do practical effects, kids. They don't do those anymore. But or props. But yeah, no, I'd probably put Jurassic Park at number 1. I'd probably put Middle Earth. Maybe Gondor. No, Rivendell. I put Rivendell at number 2. And then Inception Mind Palace is number 3. Because I feel like you could do anything with that, but maybe limit it to the real world. And you're like, all right, I'm in London, but I fold London on top of itself or something. Inception is a good movie. Then you watch Doctor Strange and they did that idea and they just times it by 4. They're like, what if the whole world collapsed onto itself 4 times? I'm like, huh. So, yeah, go watch Inception. Yeah, that's a great question, though, Jalen. I appreciate that. That's my question to everybody else this week. Please let us know what top 3 fictional places, or top 1, if you want it to be, that you could go to in any sort of media or art. And we're going to keep it to live action. Maybe we could do this again with animation. I feel like animation, you could kind of... I think some of them look nicer than they really are, You're like, it might not be a super fun place to go to. But yeah, appreciate the question on that. Thank you guys for writing in. And as always, if you have a topic or a thought or whatever else you want to write into the show, just tweet the hashtag Critical Podcasts. You can tweet at our official account, which is at GoCritical, or you can tweet at me personally. I'm at JimmyGood013. But if you want to find Joe on Twitter, Joe, where can they find you?
Lever_627. That's Lever, just like Beaver, only with an L.
Excellent, wonderful. And if you got to this part in the show, the hashtag will be hashtag fictional places. Just hashtag fictional places. That'll definitely not confuse anybody. People be like, what the heck? I think Ryan might be the... If I can get 2 other people to use that hashtag this week, I'm going to feel really happy about it. But tweet those at us. We'd love to hear from you. I'm streaming a bunch on twitch.tv/critical reviews each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, typically in the afternoons. That might be subject to change, though. And we also have an Instagram. We have an Amazon affiliate link if you want to use it, and it costs literally nothing. And if you want to support us, we also have a Patreon. And you can support us over on Twitch as well. So there you go. And our spreadshirt. You could do the spreadshirt. Go buy a shirt. I'm getting a shirt. I got to get that sweet Vibe Vampire shirt so I can show it off to everybody. But all those links are down below. And if you are listening via like Spotify or Google somethings or wherever else, let us know. I want to know how many people are listening to the audio version of this, because like it's been popping up and like showing people are watching them. Like, I just want to know if the quality is as good on your end with just the audio stuff. Just let me know. All right. I'd love to hear from you. Joe, thank you for being on as always, pal.
Absolutely, sir. It's a pleasure.
Yes, mine too. Thank you so much. And to everybody else, appreciate you. And until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome. Bye. Boom.